All right. So, that's a song for another episode. So what we're going to be doing here in these episodes, this is going to be funner than the music because I can actually stand up and grab my guitar and uh I can sit here the whole time while I'm reading this book, and this is the introductory episode to, let me see what I named it. Well, I named the book The Heathen Symphony. However, I'm going to introduce it as the book. I'm going to introduce it as this is the heathen origin story. This is going to contain a lot of flashbacks and stuff like that, but this is the key lore behind the music, behind the band that I would have created to make these songs. But this is a tale of fantasy, of a creation of both my mind, my ideas, and a chatbot. So it may actually kind of wander off subject, but there's funny parts, and it's fun. And eventually we'll introduce these two. Actually, we'll get right to the introduction. Say hi, Boney. Oh, you tangled it. Say hi. They're my stop motion animation puppets that I like to put in videos because they're fun to use. And this one over here wearing the tie, our little snack thief. This one's Stony, so say hello, Stony. We got left in my truck for a little too long and his hand's stuck. Say hi. Don't be shy. Okay. So, these are going to be a couple of important characters later on as we get going through book 2, but this is kind of part 1 of the Heathen Symphony. And what we'll actually play the songs during. I'm just going to read from my book right here, and I'm going to probably do chapters 1 through 4 today. And I'll probably play music at the beginning of the episode, music at the end. Maybe a song or two in between, at like an intermission, when I need to get up and get some water, stuff like that. So, we're going to begin just like we walked in here today. The dungeon door opens. And so this is our start point. This is actually the tale of how I ended up down here in this area, hanging out with spiders and, well, pretty much undead aliens, because they're actually one of the big inspirations behind my storytelling and my music videos. And I take them around and I just display them, and they go out and they cause their chaos, and they have fun. I have fun with them. I let other people have fun with them, and they're just hanging out down here. He doesn't glow anymore, but eventually this one, I'll plug him in for a minute and we'll show his lights off. He has lights. That's how you tell the two apart. Well, and a green goatee. But so we'll tell their origin story here real quick. Put the smoke out of sight. So, before we begin here, we've already introduced him, Stony and Boney. So, their origin story is Stoney over here. He flew in. He crash landed in our tree over on 45 West. He left a crater, and well, I found him one day hanging out in a garage with a little microphone, and so he said he was gonna call for help, and then this dude showed up. And so when he showed up, they just kind of turned into stop motion actors, and I never really realized it until one day I got me a camera that, well, I still got stuff on there, but so I got me a camera one day, and I did a bunch of stills of this guy lifting his hand up, waving at the camera, and putting his arm back down in his spaceship as he landed. And so, I don't know how far I have to be away from the mic, but I got it cranked right now. Because I don't know how loud my voice is. So that's actually kind of the purpose of these two. So then he called in. This guy showed up, and they've been causing trouble in our yard ever since, even though we moved location and stuff like that. So, anyways, let's get to the crypt door opens. So this is actually kind of a mixture of me actually making songs and moving down here and cleaning it up, and you know, it's just a small space. It's just a little old cellar, but it sure is fun. So, chapter 1, the dungeon door opens. The door loomed before him like a judge, iron ribs twisted with rust and time. Its surface bore gouges, scars from failed rebellions and forgotten hands that had once tried to pry it open. The heathen stood still, staring. This wasn't just a door. It was a barrier between the man he had been and the war he was about to fight. He reached out. His fingers brushed cold metal, rough and biting. A shiver raced down his arm. For a moment, he turned back. The silence behind the door whispered to him, "Go home. This isn't for you. You don't belong here." But he didn't move. The years of dreaming of lying awake at night, with melodies circling in his mind, like restless ghosts, had led him here, to this room, to this moment. He tightened his grip on the handle. The door groaned as it swung inward. The sound of ancient hinges, scraping like a beast, disturbed from its slumber. A cold wind spilled out, heavy with dust and a scent of old metal, and he stepped inside. The dungeon wasn't what he expected. There were no chains, no torches on the wall, just a small, single-windowed room, crammed with gear, an old desk covered in tangled cables, a battered guitar leaning against the wall, a mic stand listing to one side, like a soldier too tired to hold its post. His post. The silence was thick, suffocating. This was his battlefield, but it felt more like a tomb. The heathen's boots creaked on the wooden floor as he moved cautiously towards the desk. He reached down and lifted the guitar. It's wood chipped. and scalded from years of abuse. It was heavier than he remembered. He brushed his thumb across the strings. A dull, lifeless buzz. Perfect. Setting up the dungeon was a war in itself. It wants to be played. It's the whammy bar's catching on my headphones. It wants to be played, but we'll do that somewhere towards the end. Cables coiled like serpents, their frayed ends biting his fingers as he untangled them. The DAW flickered on the screen, then froze. He reset the interface settings again, buffer size, latency, input levels, but nothing stopped the cackle in the mic or the lag between strum and sound. Every malfunction felt like a personal attack. The system wasn't built for you, a voice hissed in his mind. It's built to break you. For hours he fought the machine, adjusting, rewiring, starting over. Each small victory was undone by a new glitch. Static in the microphone. Files disappearing mid-take. By midnight his hands were raw. Fingertips aching from endless retakes. And still he hadn't recorded a single full song. The fear of his own voice was worse than the tech. Every time he hit record, his throat tightened, his voice cracked. Played back through headphones, it didn't sound like him. It sounded hollow, weak, like a stranger mocking him from inside the speakers. You're not a singer, the voice whispered. Give up before you embarrass yourself. He almost listened, but something deep inside, something stubborn and angry, refused to let go. This wasn't about perfection. This wasn't about approval. It was survival. The heathen lit a candle and placed it on the desk. The tiny flame flickered in the darkness, fragile but defiant. He closed his eyes and whispered his mantra. No retreat, no surrender. One fight at a time. One note at a time. One breath at a time. So when I released this, I got to take a note right there that I changed the book just a little bit because I kind of went a little backwards. I read it out a little different, but that shouldn't matter to me. The song had been haunting him for weeks. Sleepless reverie. The words were scrawled on a crumbled notebook page. And these are AI-generated lyrics. Sorry, it was one of my first songs on Suno. At that time, that's how I was figuring it out. So, actually, you know what? Hold on. Let's just play it. And with that, we get to our first song. I think I'm going to have to actually bring it a little closer. Now I lay restless, my mind a swirling sea, caught in the tides of to it. We can pretty much, well, we still got to read the book off, but, you know, at this time I'm just going to leave the door open. I'm going to move the chair. So, the song had been taunting him for weeks. Sleepless reverie. The words were scrawled on a crumpled notebook page. The day slipped away like sand through my hands. Moments vanished fast like mists on distant lands. The melody circled in his mind endlessly, refusing to die. He picked up the guitar, fingers trembling, and struck the first chord. The red light on the interface blinked to life, and he began. Now I lay restless, my mind a swirling sea, caught in the tides of thoughts that won't let me be. His voice wavered, cracked, but he didn't stop. Lost in a sleepless reverie, where did it all go? Swirling thoughts consume me like an undertow. The chorus rang out, fragile but alive. Each word felt like a punch through the wall of fear. In this nightly battle, I just want release. When the last note faded, the dungeon fell silent. The heathen stared at the screen, hands hovering over the mouse. He didn't want to play it back. He just couldn't stand to hear himself fall again. But he pressed play, and for the first time he didn't hate what he heard. It wasn't perfect. It was raw, it was jagged, it was real. It was him. The machine hadn't won. Not tonight. The heathen leaned back in his chair. A smile tugged at his lips. Fuck the silence, he muttered. This is mine. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of the dungeon, something shifted. A faint hum. A thrum of power. Whose chord is this? Oh, that's... okay. The first gate had opened, and the heathen stepped through. Sort of. I don't know why. So this story is a little bit weirder. I might actually not include the gates because there isn't a reason for them really, and they don't even finish. I'm just reading it as I go. So I'm going to say this is the second song. And it really is, because it's After I'm Gone was the second song that I recorded. And so here we go. Chapter 2, the second song. The dawn spilled in reluctantly through the dungeon's cracked window. The room, once heavy with silence and shadow, now pulsed faintly with new life. The red glow of the interface blinked steadily, a heartbeat against the dark, while the cables lay coiled like dormant serpents waiting to strike. But the air tasted different. There was tension in the stillness, a weight heavier than before. The first song had been recorded. Sleepless reverie, the raw, ragged anthem of this battle to find his voice, was born. Yet the victory felt fragile, like smoke slipping through his fingers. The true war was just beginning. The second song loomed. It was not a song forged from iron or rust, but an invisible barrier, deeper, colder, a challenge from within. Could he do it again? Could he push past fear, doubt, and fatigue to reach further, go louder, go truer? Or would this silence close around him once more? The heathen sat cross-legged on the cold floor. back against the wall. His fingers traced the scars on his arms, as if searching for some forgotten strength. Got a good one there. I got a good story for that one. I got this one. I got one right there. Ooh, this one's good. The night's recording replayed softly on his mind, every cracked note and wavering breath, a reminder that he was still a long way from where he wanted to be. The battle wasn't just with gear or machines, it was with himself, his own shadowed reflection, the voice that questioned every step, every chord, every lyric. He had spent years watching others climb, their polished voices wrapped in layers of sound and silence, while his own trembled in the darkness. How many times he had almost walked away. How many nights had he lain awake, mind a storm of self-doubt and unspoken dreams. He lit a candle again, the small flame flickering in the gloom like a fragile beacon. The ritual felt heavier now, each lighting a reminder of the struggle. This time, he whispered a new mantra. This is not just a fight to be heard. This is the fight to be found. The gear awaited. Microphones, amps, pedals, the DAW that had already betrayed him too many times. But tonight, the heathen was ready to fight deeper. His fingers moved to the guitar. The strings hummed beneath his touch, trembling with the same weightless energy that shook his chest. He closed his eyes and began to play, a slow, grinding riff, darker and more complex than before. Each note was a step into the unknown, a challenge to the silence that had caged him so long. When the time came to sing, the breath caught in his throat. The mic seemed to loom larger, more merciless. But he forced the fear down, letting the words tumble out, raw and unfiltered. The lyrics were new, sharper, more urgent, a story of broken dreams and rising flames. His voice cracked and soared, battling with every ounce of strength. And then the DAW crashed. The screen went black. The silence returned like a predator. Frustration exploded inside him. He slammed his fist on the desk, nails digging into the wood, breath ragged. The fight was far from over. He powered the machine back on. He rewired cables, checked connections, adjusted settings. The battle with tech was endless. Errors, glitches, latency, lost takes. Hours slipped away in a blur of sweat, curses, and stubborn resolve. Through the dark, the candles burned low. The flame flickered, but never dying. When dawn finally touched the horizon, the heathen sat back, exhausted but unbroken. The second song had not been closed. Opened. That's an error. The second song had not been opened. He had failed and risen again. The symphony was far from finished. The dungeon was no friend. Each day its shadows seemed to close tighter, the stale air thick with resistance. The gear groaned with age and neglect, Microphone cables snarled like angry beasts. The DAW software flickered, hesitated, then crashed without mercy. The heathen wrestled with it all, a battle waged in static and silence. He learned the language of broken tech, the hiss of a faulty preamp, the buzz of a ground loop, the latency that split his timing like a shattered mirror. Each failure wasn't just a glitch, it was a blow, a reminder that the system wasn't built for him. One evening, as thunder rolled low over the city, the dungeon lights flickered and dimmed. The storm pressed close outside, rain tapping against the cracked window like impatient fingers. Inside, he prepared for another take. His voice had been quiet all day, haunted by self-doubt that slithered in every corner. But now, something inside him thundered awake. He gripped the mic stand, closed his eyes, and let loose a fierce guttural roar that shattered the stillness. The walls trembled with the raw power of his cry. For a moment, the dungeon felt alive. A wild beast stirred by rage and desperation. But as the last note faded, the crushing doubt rushed back in, colder and heavier than before. "Who are you to shout?" it whispered. "This is their world. You don't belong here." His hands shook. The screen blinked red. Buffer overflow. Another crash. The fight was endless. But then a small breakthrough. A tape played back with fewer glitches. The guitar and vocals locked together like soldiers marching in unison. His voice cracked less, but found new strength in its imperfections. He leaned forward, eyes gleaming with tired fire. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but it was his. Late nights blurred into early mornings. The candle burned low again and again, a fragile beacon in the relentless dark. Days passed in a blur of re-recording, tweaking knobs, unplugging and reconnecting cables, wrestling with the unforgiving DAW. Each tiny victory, a clean take, a steady riff, a sustained note, was a hammer strike on the walls around him. His muscles ached, his voice grew raw, his mind stretched thin by frustration and hope. But the dungeon didn't break him. Instead, it forged him. Stronger, tougher, more determined. By the chapter's end, the heathen sat alone, headphones on, eyes closed. The flicker of the second screen casting sharp shadows on his face. The second song had not opened. Oh, it repeated me. It repeated on me. I knew that was there. So, and somewhere in the roar of the night, the next song waited, darker, louder, more urgent, ready to pull him deeper into the storm. The room was dark. The glow of the DAW screen cast a pale light over tangled cables and worn gear. The dungeon felt colder now, heavier, as the air itself held the weight of 1,000 battles lost in one. The heathen sat hunched, eyes fixed on the mic that had become both his ally and tormentor. The silence pressed in on him, thick, unyielding, like a wall built to keep him out. He breathed deep, fingers trembling on the guitar strings, searching for the notes that wouldn't come. His mind was a storm. Swirling chaos, doubt, frustration. The words that he once thought so clear slipped out, slipped away like smoke. He whispered softly, piecing the song out like fragments of memory. After I'm gone, don't cry for me. When the light fades and I'm no longer near, remember my love. Let go of your fear. And that brings us into the third song. Second song. Well, third song since the introduction of the episode. So, where we're at third song, we're just going to read the first two chapters. We're going to play the out. And we're just going to jam. There it is.
Choice but to say what needs to be said. I did not know what I was going to say. I did not know how to say what needed to be said. As the end meets silence, I have no choice. Do not cry, for I found my way. So after I'm gone, do not cry for me. Live for me, write for me, sing the songs I left. After I'm gone, live free. Cherish the memories, let your heart be light. Do not cry for me, I was victorious. I am the light, but for now, keep in touch. How was I supposed to know? Life caught me in its chains. The devil trapped in my mind. I fall through every
Careful.
night.
Hey, don't you even think about it, you turd. No, I'm sitting there.
I faced fears. I faced anger. Unknown by anybody. Like a monster
Go up.
inside. And became a monster.
Go up.
But I set it free. And with silence, with that look, silence fades to darkness. Darkness becomes light. Light becomes greatness. You can silence, but never tame the heathen. I am become silence.
Alright. Let's finish this up. So, I hope you enjoyed the first two chapters of my book. I don't know if I'm ever going to distribute it. I'm just kind of doing this for fun right now. And I just thought I'd read it off and, do a couple episodes at a time. So I'll probably end up stopping this one here. And I'll edit it, upload it, and maybe we'll come back and I'll introduce you to the little creature that walked across the screen, Miss Danimal. So, anyways, for now, this one's finished. And we'll see you in the next episode. It's been episode 1 of the Heathen Symphony.